Welcome to the Elevated Woman interview series, where you will learn how to activate your feminine energy to attract the beauty, prosperity, and love that you are born to experience. My name is Anaiya Grace, and I'm so excited to be your host for these powerful conversations with renowned experts from around the world. To get permanent access to these interviews and other amazing resources, go to eastwestwoman.com and join our uplifting community as a member. Welcome to East West Woman's online interview series, Elevated Woman. Today we have Anaiya Sophia, who is a beautiful woman, mystic, Kundalini yoga teacher, and spiritual guide for many all over the world. She's the author of Sacred Union, Womb Wisdom, and Sacred Relationships. And honestly, Anaiya, just connecting with you through your website and your YouTube channel, and now personally, it's been a true honor to be in your presence, because I feel that you really do hold the energy of the sacred feminine in you. And it's a beautiful thing to witness and and learn from, really, which is why I think I'm drawn to this work. And all of you teachers that are, I just feel so blessed to be able to work with all of you. So thank you for wanting to be a part of this.
Thank you so much for the invitation to be amongst you all and to hopefully share something interesting. And may this summit really go far and wide.
Exactly. I agree. So for anybody who has not been around your work much, you have a lot of videos on YouTube and offerings through your website. And I've been watching a lot of them. And I really wanted to, during this interview, highlight your relationship with your partner, Pete, because what I have observed in those interviews is that when you're on camera and he's sitting next to you, I do see that he's oriented towards you in a way that I feel like you're being uplifted and beheld, in a sense. And it really activates my heart, because that's what I think of when I think of the divine masculine and divine feminine working together. And I'd love to kind of hear, how that has evolved and what you feel is possible for us all in love.
Yeah, I have been very blessed to meet Pete and for him to say yes to this huge journey. And before I met him, I was very much in my kind of romantic phase of what I thought it would be like, this form of embodied sacred union and the ecstasy and the roomy and the longing. And where we are, Pete and I, we're very much taking that was on our interior, our inside, and we're going into very strange and unusual corners of life, bringing our aliveness and our consciousness to these places. It's like with this team, with this male and female team that is absolutely unified. When we go into this subject, I know he's going to be there for the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I'm pretty hopeful that he feels the same way. And we go in, woof, into like forbidden territory, the kind of places couples or even individuals don't dare talk about, let alone unravel and pull everything out of the box. But I know I can go there because he's right there with me, and he won't abandon me in the middle of an operation. Yeah. And that is the uplift. And so many people mention that in the videos, that they see him looking and like sending this energy. But I'm so into the presentation, I'm not really noticing that much. But when I play it back, I see it. And I say to myself on the inside, if you ever doubt his love, please watch a video, because you see it there.
Yeah. And this part of the masculine one of the qualities of the masculine that I hold very dear to me is this quality of being that sincere witness, whether that be in our meditation practice or in relationship. And I do see him witnessing you and your beauty, and you're just, you know, so expansive and radiant, and he's so immersed in you, and it's just amazing to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Totally.
Thank you, thank him, and thank me.
Yeah.
And may we all have this in this lifetime. That's my big prayer.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think
let's not run from it. Let's not deny it, because it takes a lot of, oh my God, it takes a lot of surrender, because we're not always like that. You know, we're tackling one another's outer shell. We don't even realize we're doing it, but we know all the false parts about one another. Yeah.
And I would love to.
And you got to let the other one sort of dismantle you a little bit.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the questions I had for you, is just this, you know, the importance of being able to trust and surrender, and how that, you know, not just in relationship, but also intimately, sexually, like what creates the container that feels safe enough to trust. And
absolutely, oh my goodness, this takes time. And my past, there, like us all, there has been a huge mistrust. So I really had to, you know, find my trust in the rubble. And it was tiny. It was really tiny. And I had to nurse that by myself and just gently imbue it back and back and back. Because the first person I had to trust was me. I'm not interested in anyone else at this stage. I got to learn to trust me again. And am I going to listen to my intuition? Because my intuition warned me all along, do not go there, do not go there. But I thought that was judgment. I thought that was my wounds and my flaws. So I was like, you know, bravado, I'm going to go in here. This is just wound material. It wasn't, it was intuition. So that was the first big forgiveness piece. I discarded and denied my intuition. So, you know, imbuing my little bit of trust, ooh, it's back again. Okay, this is good. This is good. Years later, in comes Pete, you know, inviting me to now trust another human. And I thought I was really doing quite okay. And as an individual, I was doing rather well. But there's always an extra great and massive depth when you start to become intimate with another person and you start to put yourself out on that line again. And it took time. It really did take time. And he'll tell you that. But now I don't know, but I recognize there is a huge difference in me in the last 2 years that I've been with Pete. Is it Pete's good work? Probably. Is it the fact that I'm really entering the menopausal phase now? And definitely a sense of eldership, maturity, and wisdom is coming in. That is true. Wow, that is so welcome. Or is it a little cocktail of the two? But I know now I am trusting again, deeply. And I don't need or expect anything in return for giving that trust. So it's very clean. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to be here again and be relatively innocent and trusting.
Yeah, and I think I can share that experience as well, just being in a container of a relationship where healing actually can occur, you know, when that level of commitment is there, that the layers can begin to kind of shed off and get to the deeper aspects. I feel like that's why love relationship is so powerful.
Oh, yes. Yes. I feel this is the realm now that the real authentic spiritual progress can be made. Like back in my time in the 90s, everyone packing their bags and just going to India. You know, where is the ashram? Let me surrender everything and be at the guru's feet. That is so yesterday. Now it is the crucible of sacred conscious relationship. And that can get into every little nook and cranny if you allow it, if you don't fight the process. And that, you know, when if ever you've been with the guru, you know you're on your best behavior. And you go home and you can be a little bit of a biatch again. You're like, oh no, I've lost my spiritual mantle. That's because the guru is not at home with you. At home is where the real character shows up.
Yeah. How do you?
But the partner's at home.
Yeah. So how do you recognize? Because I think I heard you kind of speaking about how in the past with relationships you were not necessarily listening to your intuition when your body was saying no, maybe not with this person. You know, how do we? Because I feel like I think I'm in that space right now where I know that it's like I'm in the middle because I know that I am meant to have this person that is a very, you know, powerful figure in my life where I do most of this work. But I also feel slightly afraid of that right now. And I almost want this in-between experience, but I'm not willing to be with somebody who is, you know, kind of in the darker fallen realm. So it's to be.
I think, you know, good old-fashioned honest questions. Is this person gonna elevate you? Is this person, you know, like what you saw with Pete in the video, is he gonna imbue you? Can he sit beside you, not have no agenda of his own, and simply just imbue you with his presence because he in himself is contained and happy doing his thing, doesn't see you as a threat or a competition? They're good, they're uncomfortable questions, but they're good and honest questions. And then you'll start to get a sense of that one's character.
That's beautiful advice. Beautiful guidance. What are some collective patterns that the feminine is healing right now? You know, just kind of collectively as.
Well, the one thing I really noticed for myself and my peers is the voice. Speaking out, just the things that we've been quiet on, feeling that permission and support from the other sisters. This is very new. I don't know if it's new for me, which it is, or whether it's new for the whole of us. But there is this kind of like support system in place now, where if a woman is going to come forward and reveal a very big secret, she's not doing it on her own. Whereas when I look back to my younger days, we were very much on our own, and not only on our own, but often condemned for coming out and revealing something about someone. Whereas now there's this huge instant circle of support. And we also have the consciousness, if we are going to come out and say what has really been going on, we're able to do it now and not place judgment and blame upon that person, but absolutely come out as a wall of truth. This is what has happened. Beware, be aware. And so it's like this new way of revealing truth that's not laced with some sort of vengeance or attack technique. It's amazing, and this is obviously like the Me Too campaign. So for me, voice, permission to speak up, permission to speak about skeletons and secrets that you've been holding because of some sort of strange vow of silence or misplaced loyalty. So yeah, us ladies, we're finding our voice, which is very good news for the womb, because the womb and the voice are absolutely dependent on each other for good vital health.
Yeah, I would love to go into that and just sort of the powers that we hold as women that we've forgotten about, like womb wisdom and other powers that we hold.
Absolutely. Yeah. This, with, if you have the sacred heart, if you have the warm and open, vulnerable heart, the clear voice and the not willingness to hold secrets, and that the primordial wisdom of the womb, that's a very, very interesting female form, because you have the grace and the compassion to soften the power of these, of the throat and sacral, because these are very like brandishing powers. This is like, Wonder Woman powers. But with the sacred heart, that opens like a flower and just kind of softens that very intense magnetic presence. So got to make sure that heart is there too.
Yes. So combining that natural compassion, that nurturance almost that we with that more ability to speak out and speak out.
And the humility, if someone sort of comes to you and not criticizes but points something out about you, and you sort of know it's true, so the humility to just like take that in. It's like you just a moment ago, you were asking me, oh, so you're a self-initiated priestess from the Rose Line. If I didn't have the translucency for that comment to get in, I'd have just stopped you. You wouldn't have got in. But I'm not interested in that anymore. I want you in. Come in and let's tell the truth, the real truth about one another. So yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, I actually was talking about this with one of my really close friends recently, that like I very much am regaining my voice, my power. I remember when I was in middle school, I remember this so distinctly. Like I would be around my friends, my girlfriends, and I would say something, and literally everybody would just either ignore me or like turn their backs for, I remember feeling like what I had to say wasn't important. And even, I felt shame over it.
Yeah.
And then I also remember later on, like maybe 5 years later, as I was getting a little bit older, starting to experiment with when people actually did receive me. And I was like, okay, I can speak up and have a voice. But I still find that specifically around men, I work on understanding and revealing my power as a woman. And then for whatever reason around certain men, maybe there's something that's sort of intimidating about them, or they seem really powerful. It's like my voice gets small again. Yeah. And I'm so aware of it. I'm trying to just practice. But, what do we do about that?
Yeah. Oh, I can recognize that one. I very much took a twofold approach. Inwardly, I turned to very fierce, divine aspects. So, for instance, Kali or the Black Madonna. And I laced that with the powerful message that was coming through Andrew Harvey, and the state of our planet, the extinction of the animals, the urgent tone in which he speaks to really wake up and see exactly what's going on here, and how we need that voice, and we need that feminine voice, because the divine feminine can't come down. She's not going to appear as this giant 50-foot woman putting everything back into place, because she is relying on her daughters to be able to put voice to what she is feeling and needing to address and correct. So you can't really see it, but behind me is an altar with Kali and the Black Madonna. So I'm praying for that, the fierce feminine, but I don't want it to be mixed up with any personal anger or agenda I have, because that's not her. That's just me amplified. So I'm getting my desire, if you like, by listening to Andrew Harvey, Caroline Myss, anyone who's talking at that level. And I'm mixing the desire with deep prayer. Whatever I'm frightened of saying, please help me have the courage, because they can't take the fear away. But what they can do, the fierce feminine, is absolutely give you the encouragement and all the gutsy energy to bring up to the throat and say what needs to be said very clearly, very coherently, and in such a way that all ears go, whoa, got that. But I totally understand. I too have had, probably still do have, awful fear of male authoritative figures.
Yeah, and even potential romantic partners too. I find I'm just like, like I turn into this small little voice sometimes, and yet I know I'm powerful and I can speak in front of a room, and then it's just like in front of this one guy, you know, it all goes away. It's so, and I'm just witnessing it at this point and working with it, but it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
So one of your talks that I listened to, you went into this taking the war out of men story, and part of the intention of Elevated Woman is to help collectively the feminine remember our inherent power. And I would love for you to share that story, because I do believe it connects us back to our strength and our power as women.
Okay, so retell the story or just a piece of it?
Yeah, if you want to retell it, that would be great.
Okay. Well, my little story is this, that once upon a time, there was a temple space in every single large city across the whole planet. And it was as normal as the bakers or the post office or the shopping mall. It was just normal to have one there. And in this temple, in my deep imagination, it's filled with all ages of women. And they're wearing white, but not because they're sacred and holy and aloof and exclusive, but because their whiteness represents the kind of lifestyle they're living. They're married to the divine. They don't have partners. They don't even go outside of the temple much, not because they're trapped and can't leave, but because this is their place. This is their place of ecstasy, devotion, and service. And these ladies, ranging from very young girls in training to quite probably, I don't know, because I don't know how long people lived at that age, but let's just say ladies in their 60s, elders, they would be available to take the people in the township through any level of initiation that was needed, from birth to death, to first bleeding cycle coming, to introducing a young boy to his sexuality, from maybe even being part of a young girl and a young boy getting together in the first place. But one very big important part of this was taking the war out of man. So when these warriors would come home from the battlefield with their blood, you know, with their bandages, with their totally fractured minds, it wasn't even encouraged. They simply went home through the temple. This was just a way of going home. There is no other way. You pass through the temple. So I even saw in my imagination young girls, little girls, 6-year-olds, taking this big burly man in, and he is shot to pieces. He's not even aware that a little 6-year-old has got hold of his hand. And she guides him to a bath, a pool of water, where maybe a teenager or a late teenager takes over from the young girl. Young girl disappears. Teenager takes him into the pool. Now, nothing sexual is happening at this moment because it can't. this poor man is beside himself, literally, with this battle weary, not even fatigue, battle weary fracturedness. So the young lady bathes him. She undresses him, bathes him, and he's probably still like completely unaware, you know, PTSD to the max. But he's aware of something. And that something is very nice. And he has thirsted for it. Now, this is where we have to correct our minds. He is not like, oh, young girl, great, you know, wife at home. No, this kind of stuff hasn't even been formed yet. He is just grateful that he's in the arms of the feminine and he's in warm water and he's being washed and soaked. And he can feel the absolute cleanliness and the purity of the young lady. She knows exactly what she's doing, and there's no foul play happening here at all. Nope, not at all. After the beautiful bathing procedure, the young lady now takes him to someone else. Now, this lady could be in her 20s, 30s, 40s even, and she's working it, and she's holding it with authority, but not arrogance, absolutely not. And as the man comes towards her, I can imagine that she is tuning in on every level. Okay, what needs to be done here? So she's like scanning. She's probably in some sort of mild trance, but she's aware, very aware of the presence of another human coming towards her, because usually all she's doing is looping in and out of her love with the divine. So the proximity of another human being is going to really give her a very different reading. And so she opens her love relationship with the divine, and he walks into that. And she is the bridge. She will do whatever is necessary for that man to recognize he's in a bridge situation. And all he has to do is reach for him, his own self in her presence. That might be forgiveness, redemption, all those old-fashioned words. But in her glorious love of him, because he's a child of God, the one that she's married to. So there's a real mixture here of mother love and the erotic, and just simple human decency. You know, so you just spin all that into together, and hopefully you'll get a sense of what's happening here. And so the man is elevated. He's elevated. He's able to pull himself back to wholeness, pick up the parts that he cast away because of the horror of what he'd done or what he saw. And then hopefully with God's grace, he forgives himself. And the crown is placed back upon his head. And then he leaves. And now he is able to go home and see his wife and children. And the wife's not, oh, where's my husband? Oh, he's at the bloody temple again. No! The wife is like, thank God. Thank God he's passed through the temple. Maybe my husband will return now, because without the temple, you don't get your husband back. You get a shell. You get PTSD. And that in my heart breaks my heart that these services and this level of care is not available for our men facing these horror situations. You know, even like firefighters, policemen, and of course our soldiers. So when the temple was taken away, you could say in a man's psyche, he lost his connection to the divine, because he was grown up by understanding the ladies in the temple strengthen the connection to the divine. Now, these ladies had to run for their lives. This was brought down very, very quickly by patriarchy. So yes, the temple's gone, but in the psyche of man, he's lost his connection. to forgive himself, to touch and be in communion with his divinity. This is horrendous.
Yeah, such powerful.
And us ladies, I bet there's a few on the call that are just going, yes, yes. We have to figure out ways, if we feel compelled to bring this back in a way that doesn't frighten the men. Because this is a big energy, scary energy. It suggests that it's going to eat that man up. And no one ever sees him again. He goes into the temple, he never comes out again. Or if he does, he's like some watered down, sort of wimpish devotee of the goddess. He's lost his masculinity. That's the fear. No. We have to maybe prepare ways that he can come in and feel that again. And all is well.
Yeah, every time I hear that story, when you tell it, there's just this clarity and this truth that I feel in my whole body, because it just makes sense that we hold that power as women, and in many ways we've forgotten that as well. So
now these ladies would have worked in the same way with women. You know, maybe a woman goes into like a frigidity state. She's had a load of children. She just can't feel herself anymore. She goes to the temple. And the priestess would absolutely open her away, open her up in delightful and ecstatic ways. And no one's walking around with, oh my God, I think I'm gay. Because this concept didn't exist. It was just enlivening. You were enlivening someone, putting them back in their own driver's seat.
Wow. Yeah, and you know, it's so beautiful when I think about there's a difference between feminine touch and masculine touch, you know, and the gentleness and that nurturance of the feminine, that mothering, you know, it's activating, and there's this softening that happens just, you know, in your best friend's, you know, your best friend just rubs your back or something, you know, and it's yes. really beautiful to recognize the power of the feminine touch, the feminine energy, that Shakti that is behind. We hold that, you know, and yeah, that's really beautiful. So, you know, I would love to hear, I think that, yeah, you know, I think that sexuality has been something that has been, I don't know if it's been just completely suppressed but why are we having so many challenges right now between the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine? You know, I keep trying to direct the question back to, why is Me Too happening in the first place? Why is sex trafficking and sexual assault and violence happening, you know? Because I think that's a really important thing to address right now.
It feels as if we're coming to a bottleneck, that we're in this kind of funneling system, and the walls are closing in on us. Because, you know, if I was using Andrew Harvey's language, we're being backed into a corner where the feminine, or the creative presence, the one that creates the trees, the fields, the oceans, the mountains, she is undecided whether humanoids are going to be part of the natural world. So there's a lot of pressure on us right now to show up. We're being edged into this kind of sieve, this filter, this corner. And of course, everything is like imploding in on us. That's what I feel. That's the imagery I'm working with, and this is what I am sort of inwardly agreeing to. Like, yes, get me in that corner. Let all that is unreal fall away, and let me pass through this little eye of the needle, if I am able to, as a graceful, clean, pure, open human being that is aware utterly of nature and my right place in it, as it, with it. Not some sort of, you know, control management figure outside of nature. You know, I'm going to control you. You have to make crops for me. You have to. But more like, you know, the movie Avatar, that lovely Awa, plugging my tail in to the tree and doing that woo, that movement. So, yes, I feel all those examples you used, they've always been there, even since ancient times. Sex trafficking, drug trafficking, oh my God, that's always been there. But it's really in our face now, because I believe she wants to know, how do we really feel about this? Okay, so we're in disagreement. Are you going to do anything about that disagreement? Are you going to say anything? There's the voice again. Are you going to show up for anything? Or are you just going to put the head in the sand like an ostrich? I was listening to Andrew this week, and I think it was Carl Jung. Apparently, he said the fundamental problem of humans is that they're all cowards. Like, yeah, shit, yeah. And I don't want to be a coward. I don't want to be a coward. I'm sure you don't either. So we're being backed. We're being backed up. Are we going to break out of this cowardice? I really hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, when you said show up, are we going to show up? I think my eyes were just like, why? Yeah. Because it does feel that way. We can feel all of these, you know, injustices, and sometimes my inner fire feels so activated I don't even know what to do about it. But then at 6 a.m. when my alarm goes off and I don't get out of bed to, like, you know, get out in the world and act. Yes. That's when I'm learning more and more, especially through this process of doing Elevated Woman, that that level of commitment to service to the things that we really stand for. That's really where that, you know, we can show up or not.
Yes, that's right. And to have encouraging support group around you, you know, who imbue you, who inspire you, who check in with you, you know, 6:30, hey, you up? Yeah, I'm up, I'm doing my yoga. That really helps. And you're so lucky, Anya, because you're feeling the upsurge. This is great. All you have to do now is, I don't know, what I would do is I'd turn to the altar. So I'd feel the upsurge and I'm like, okay, Mama, I got some energy here. How can I serve you today? Get the mind nice and clear and empty, and hopefully you'll have a wisp of inspiration coming from her, coming from the altar. And then, of course, you just do it. You don't question. Yeah, but could I do it like this? You just follow that intuition to the T, even if it sounds really weird. And then the intuition gets stronger because it recognizes you're listening.
Thank you for that. I feel called, I'm like nervous to talk about this because I haven't talked about any of the calls yet, but I heard you talk about, like, when just going into sexual energy in a way, because this is such a massive part of our experience as humans, and I don't think a lot of people really understand the power behind the sexual energy, this creative energy. And in my life, I had, when I was really, really young, somehow I figured out how to masturbate, and I just figured that out at a really young age when I was like 1. And it was something that was compulsive for me. Like it was over the top, and I was really afraid of it. Like I would be, I'd be going to sleep and just beg my parents to stay in my room until I fell asleep so I wouldn't do that, because I was so afraid of it. And it was like this energy just kind of came over me. And then I had a surgery when I was 7. It was an inguinal hernia, and I thought I'd caused it through this, and And since then, I've done so much healing, and you know, that's really why Elevated Woman exists, is because of this experience that I had in my past. But I still am working through my sexual energy, and I don't fully understand it yet. And sometimes it's so intense still that it's, you know, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I don't, maybe it's not like the most common thing, but I also know that some people, I'm sure, have had this as well, these experiences in some way. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I do feel you have some.
First of all, bless you for your gorgeous, gorgeous, and your gorgeous vulnerability. You absolutely bless us all with raising this subject. Obviously, I don't have the answers, but I might have a little something, because it's a multi-leveled response. The first thing I want to say is there are people on this planet, I call them Tantrikas, natural, gorgeous men and women, girls and boys, who absolutely are filled only with the sexual presence. And it is their duty, and it is their right, and it is their sacred gift to imbue the rest of the community with their gloriousness. They are here to be a Tantrika. Maybe that is you, because you also pick up on taking the war out of men. This would mean that you would be well placed in a tantric environment, being that. I'd love to think I was a tantrika. I know I'm not. I know I'm not. Close, but I'm not. Let's call a spade a spade. Back in the gorgeous days, before we all got awkward around this subject, a tantrika would guide intimately everybody into their sexuality. So the tantrika would be the first one you met when you were 14 years old. She might not be wearing anything apart from a little belly belt and a few, you know, anklets and neck charms. And she is so natural, and she introduces you to her body. These are my breasts. This part here is the nipple. Here is my yoni. Here is my ass. And the kids, or the 14-year-olds, they're not awkward or shamed, because they are with a highly professional, skilled being of sexual artistry. That is a tantrika. We see the tantrikas now, they're kind of coming back in our beautiful goddess communities, but we haven't lived with this level of naturalness. That really is the key word here. And of course, it's all been condemned and shamed, and lo and behold, we have prostitutes and brothels. And that's where it can happen at the moment. That's permitted, that's allowed, that's legal. So maybe you're a tantrika, and a tantrika has copious amounts of sexual energy. But they probably wouldn't even call it sexual energy. They would say, I have a natural quantity of life force. And it's all in that beautiful sexual area. Food, adoration, decoration, artistry in the home, artistry in the garden. Everything you wear has been thought about, and exquisite perfumes. You are a beauty to behold, and you are meant to be that beauty, and everybody is invited to enjoy your gorgeous presence. Maybe it's that. But one thing we have to do, I don't know, because you didn't say, is what is your relationship like now with masturbation? Does it feel, keyword again, natural? Because if there's anything shameful, guilty, avoiding, denying, judging, then all of that will need to be washed away so that you can come back to the yoni in a natural way. This is your yoni. This is yours. Must be able to touch it, look at it, be with it, and let's not call it it, let's call it her. So, I mean, my first question is, why did you have, you don't have to answer it here, obviously, the whole world's listening, why did you have so much energy at such a young age? Now, I recognize I went through a masturbation frenzy in my early 20s. And it was a little bit of a problem. Suddenly I discovered, it's called a rabbit. Like a pink vibrator with ears like a rabbit. Holy moly. Yeah, and I noticed, hang on a minute, it's getting a little bit silly. Could someone please take the rabbit out of my hands and throw it away? It's, how come that happened to me? And it was problematic and it was addictive. So I can recognize these phases of awakening, but this also definitely was attached to my beginnings of yoga practice. So was I awakening a natural sexual energy through the Kundalini and taking it through a little bit of an artificial way of releasing it? Yeah, great questions to ask. There's a part of me that kind of goes, I think she's a tantrika because of the way you look. We opened up our screens to each other, and I was like, wow. Perhaps you love the story of the temple. Perhaps you are battling with what you naturally are.
That makes a lot of sense. The battling makes sense. And I would say even more in my own body, the residual shame that I feel comes from, I'm still learning, and luckily I've had partners that have helped me with this, but learning how to soften and because it was almost something that caused me pain, like physical pain, and actually in my right psoas is still, I still have pain in my right psoas sometimes. It's all connected. Because it's something that caused me physical pain, I'm slowly learning how to, even in sex too, and it comes up, how to release, as you said, and let go of that connection to my own body and my own pleasure.
Yes.
It's still tight, and sometimes it's still tight and contracted and constricted and painful.
Yes.
So that's Wow. I think
with that. I wish you the very best of luck with that.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure I'll reach out to you again at some point to go more into it. But it's funny, there's some interviews where I've shared more than others, and that there's always this feeling before I'm like, what's gonna happen? I just know something.
I've never admitted anything about the rabbit before. So we're in it together, sweetheart.
Yay. I'm sure it's, I think so many people have these experiences, and where is the place to talk about it? So I'm happy to be
right here.
Yeah.
Right here, what we're creating.
Yeah, exactly. We could talk for so long, but I just want to, is there anything that you feel right now it's important that we look at as men and women, whether it be how can we work together, or, what are the most important steps right now that we do collectively?
Well, being in the moment, what Pete and I are working on at the moment, we made some videos recently about how our sort of desire for sex has kind of weaned down, and we're really looking at psychological reasons for that, the hormonal reasons for that, our character reasons for that. And we've been listening a little bit to Barry Long. So Barry Long is like a Tantra teacher from Australia. He's recently passed over, but he was in that field for a good 30, 40 years. And he's introducing this new way of making love, where you just let the two bodies do it, and the breath. And that the two of you, apparently what he's saying is that we really have to unlearn our sexual education that we have been bombarded with. This, goal orientation, rushing to ejaculate, rushing to have an orgasm. How many orgasms can I clock up in this one session? This kind of like frenetic Western gung-ho attitude to sex. Yeah, it's got to be hard, it's got to be fast, and whoa, one orgasm and ejaculation after the other. So he's suggesting the complete mirror opposite of that. Something very slow, no agenda, no expectation, and really going into the practice with I don't know anything about sex. I don't know how to do this. I have no clue. And just let the bodies, and to begin with, you can just be lying there for ages, like, is anything and he also talks about the soft penetration. Now this is very interesting. We haven't done much of it yet, but we're really eager to, and we're really understanding and talking our way through it. So the man would enter with a soft lingam, and the life presence of the yoni becomes the stimulating factor, not the imagination, not the fantasy, not the ex-girlfriend, not the porno scenes, but the presencing that's within the yoni. This is a massive unlearning. And we had a little girl the other day. We were so excited. We wanted to come to Facebook and tell everyone. I said, no. We had a little girl, and I must say we had a glimpse. We had a glimpse of this new world that Barry was talking about. And it was amazing. And we made love, like made it, like making a cake. We made a new expression of love between us. Very interesting. So watch this space. We hope to do more of it. Amazing. So yeah, let's get making love to be exactly that. Have one of those awkward conversations that I have with Pete. Why? Which literally is, why are we having sex? Hello? Can you explain why? What is the purpose of this? It doesn't serve us anymore, actually. Doesn't mean I want to stop. It means I want to expand the bandwidth of what's possible. And we both do. We're both hungry for that. I'm writing about this stuff and actually doing this stuff a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yes.
That feels like it goes in hand in hand with some of the other interviews where we're talking about how right now we're breaking down structure, whether it be physical, energetic, or emotional in many ways.
Yes.
And recognizing that everything that's been constructed in the past came from thought and experiment, and therefore we can take it down and then rebuild something different.
That's
and
right.
This is our opportunity. So
yeah,
that was beautiful. How can people connect with you? And I know you have some free, offerings through your website and all of that.
Yeah. Well, the free offering for this one is going to be the transmission of Taking the War Out of Man. So you can go on this journey again, but at a much greater depth. And really, you have an hour to absorb this story. Very, very, very lovely. And I, the speaker, will literally just deposit you into your own source of wisdom. And she will take you on way beyond what I'm able to say. It's amazing, so many people email after that transmission with where they went. Things I didn't even know. And I read their email and I go, yes, you know, the body just says, yes, that this is true. Where this one went, this is true. So it's wonderful. We're opening this thing up together, you know, with our consciousness and our understanding of this place. How do you find me? Well, my website is my whole name, anayasophia.com. Lots of presence on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And the YouTube channel as well, Anaiya Sophia. Yeah, beautiful. It's kind of easy.
Beautiful. So last question, and that is, it's more about you. What is something that people don't get to see about you that you feel is beautiful?
Oh. That's a great one. I forgot about that one. I don't know is the honest answer. And the reason I say I don't know is because I think I'm quite revealing. There's not a lot that's held back, especially with someone I feel very comfortable with, and I feel very comfortable with you. It's as if it's just me and you talking. I'm unaware of all the ones who's going to listen. So when I feel that, I call it the bond, you know, the avatar bond. I think I've put my tail into you. Then I hardly hold anything back. So maybe that's it. My greatest gift, if you like, is the ability to really open up, come in, see what you like, pull up a chair. We'll talk about anything you find on the inside. Maybe it's that.
That's amazing. That's definitely my experience of you as well. So thank you for sharing your heart.
Thank you for such a great conversation.
Most definitely.
Yeah.